What's up, family? Damien Jones podcast. Glad you're with us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this broadcast. Make sure you comment and leave your thoughts on today's conversation. This is hot off the press. Hot off the press. I just saw this, so I wanted to kind of talk about this and give my thoughts on this. I know many of you will have reactions to this as well. But the city of Minneapolis just approved, moments ago, just approved a $27 million settlement for the family of George Floyd. Let me say that again. The city of Minneapolis and its council just approved at this very few moments ago a $27 million settlement for the family of George Floyd, who was killed gruesomely by Officer Derek Chauvin in Minnesota last July for all the world to see. And so was it July sometime? They filed a federal lawsuit last July. And now a settlement has been reached in that case. $27 million. What do you think? Is that enough? You know, we're going to see a lot of Ben Crump in the next couple of days. I'm not a big fan of Ben Crump. I think there are better lawyers, but want to give him credit and kudos for what he was able to do in terms of bringing exposure to this case. One of my attorney legal friends just told me that the power of the video, because there was video for all the world to see, that really helps in legal cases, civil cases in this way to drive up the number. But what I want to express to you, 27 million is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. It is a ton of money. And on top of, I think, what is it that they were able to raise on GoFundMe? I think that was probably $20 million or so. I mean, crazy number. And people have been very gracious and giving and supportive, and they continue to. The kids will be taken care of, the family will be taken care of for a very long time. But in my view, $27 million is not enough. It's not enough. It's not. We all say that no number, no dollar amount is worth a person's life, is worth a family member's life. We would love to have that person back with us. Friends and family of that person would love to have them still with us. But given all that this family has endured, make sure you leave your questions and comments on this topic. Is this enough? Given all that this family has endured for the past year, given how media types and regular people have slandered the name of George Floyd, given the impact that this brother, George Floyd, has had on the globe in changing our nation in terms of our conversations and in turn our actions, in terms of diversity, in terms of racial justice, in terms of criminal justice reform, in terms of just flat out decency, this family deserves, George Floyd's legacy and his estate deserves way more than $27 million. That's just a drop in the bucket. Talk to me if you can now. Talk to me in the comments. Is this number enough? Does the family need more? If you were a part of George Floyd's family, would you be appalled today? Would you be thankful? Would you be tearful? Do you think the attorney should fight for more? When you talk about how our world was turned upside down with coronavirus on last year, And then we see the untimely and gruesome death of George Floyd. This video was shared millions and millions and millions and millions of times. You think about the trauma that this family, and I'll tell you, to this very day, I have yet to watch that video of him being killed. I will not watch it. I'm not a fan of Black brothers and sisters, anybody, and their demise being on video. Won't watch it. I can't stomach it. I've seen too much of it. And so the pain, the agony of seeing, of the world, opening up your lives and the world seeing your family member decimated in such a way by an evil person who was sworn to protect and serve. Think about how mentally damaging that is for this particular family. Everywhere you look, articles, George Floyd, the pictures, George Floyd, knee on the neck, all that stuff. And they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. His children have to live with that for the rest of their lives. No dollar amount can take away that trauma for the rest of their life. Listen, the internet ain't going away. Google ain't going away. So anytime you type in George Floyd, you will see that picture of Derek Chauvin with the knee on the neck. That family deserves more. The family deserves more money because they had a reverberating impact, and and will continue to, on how we move in this nation in terms of racial justice, in terms of policing reform, and so forth. Look, we got a George Floyd Act being talked about in Congress. Now, my personal opinion that I think the act is going to be empty and it's just symbolism, but it creates an opportunity to make the conversations deeper and more substantive in how we police in underserved communities, implicit bias, racial bias, so forth and so on, because we got to have the conversation. If somebody's texting me, people talk about all the time, George Floyd was a drug addict, so forth and so on. If he was, that's his business. That's his business. We pray for him, so forth and so on. But he's a human being. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a good person who may have been battling with some chemical dependency issues, for all we know. But that does not mean that he can't have a huge impact on this world as he lived and posthumously. And it does not mean that his name should be denigrated. And so it changes the conversation is to now the world a little bit has been more compassionate, more understanding, more open in having the conversations around not demonizing, not criminalizing folks with a checkered past. And maybe chemical dependency is not criminalized as it used to be, more looked like as a health issue, right? And so this family will continue to endure more. They will continue to have sleepless nights and lots of crying. And $27 million may be a little solace. But in my view, they deserve a lot more. Maybe $100 million, maybe $250 million for what they put this family through. It would set a precedent for more families. Because at the end of the day, the taxpayers of Minneapolis, have to pay for the bad policing of Derek Chauvin. And this happens in cities across the nation. Taxpayers have to foot the bill for bad policing. And maybe that will encourage police to have more integrity, to be less hateful, and to treat people with dignity and respect. Again, the city of Minneapolis just approved moments ago a $27 million settlement for the blessed family of George Floyd? Tell me what you think down in the comments. Is $27 million enough? Should they get more? Should they have gotten less? If this was your family, how would you feel? Talk to me. Make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment. This is the Damien Jones Podcast.